The movie is set in Morocco. It begins by introducing us to Abdul, a French-Moroccan soldier. He is a press conference speaker informing the masses about the passing of his 13-year-old brother, Ider. It appears that 3 unknown police officers are responsible for beating Ider until he stopped breathing. The authorities are searching for them and Abdul appeals to the people to remain calm. A French speaker says that officers are covering up for their co-workers' crimes, since a town as small as Athena can't hide big secrets. Karim is Ider and Abdel's third brother. He is in the crowd, and he is not happy about what happened. He lights a Molotov cocktail and hurls it behind the speakers. This causes massive commotion and panic. People start running in fear, and Karim's insurgent group begins to raid the police station and vandalize the property. Karim orders his people to find the weapons lockers and safes. The rioters are forced to take alternative routes when the police retaliate. They decide to take the whole safe, the weapons locker, and other supplies like vests and helmets. They take the whole safe, since they can't unlock it. Karim coordinates their escape with the goods as they chant, "We are now the police." They dangerously drive through traffic and celebrate their victory. They head to Athena and are greeted with thunderous applause and cheers. However, Karim does not celebrate. He is focused on his mission of revenge. He strategically separates the groups and assigns them different objectives. Once they arrive in Athena, Karim orders everyone to build a powerful barricade and instructs civilians to hide, because it is about to get violent. Some rioters decide to celebrate by posting videos online and shooting each other with rubber guns, but Karim maintains order and warns them about the coming war. He heads over to the barricade, ready for action. Elsewhere, we see a police officer called Jerome worrying about the mission, since he has 2 daughters. The commander shares Athena's schematics with the team and orders them to be vigilant. The riot police reach Athena and get barraged by a myriad of fireworks. In the ghetto side, we meet Mokhtar, a drug-dealing criminal who wants to use the chaos to his advantage. He rallies his men and plans to move bags of contraband out of Athena. Unfortunately for him, the young rioters refuse to let anyone leave the place. Mokhtar gets mad and attacks them, but quickly has his men retreat. He threatens the rioters with his guns as they move through the area, until Karim faces him. Mokhtar does not care about Karim's cause and spits on the ground after firing a warning shot. Karim's group leaves when the police enter the place. At the Shisha Lounge in Athena, Mokhtar and his gang seek refuge. There, they dig a trench to hide the contraband until the rebellion is over. The locals rally at the mosque and seek guidance from the sheikh. Abdul is there and the people blame him and Karim. Abdul assures everyone that he'll find Karim, talk to him, and solve this issue. In the meantime, everyone should barricade himself or herself and not confront the rioters. The sheikh warns Abdul about a known terrorist called Sebastian in town. Abdul teams up with a local and takes a scooter ride through Athena. He later searches for his brother on foot, and tries to call off the rioters, since Abdul is trying to evacuate families. Abdul encounters Sebastian, obliviously gardening and listening to music. He takes him to safety and locks him inside a daycare. Abdul makes his way to his childhood house, where he finds a memorial service for Ider underway. He prays with the people, and then he spots Karim and attempts to speak with him, but the latter flees to the funeral ceremony, which is being disturbed by the escalating violence outside. His family members don't want to leave the house. They are also angry at Abdul for following the military and the police, despite what happened to his brother. Afterward, Abdul assists in planning an evacuation and a refuge for the citizens of Athena. He helps the elderly, disabled, and people most in need. He finds his mother being evacuated, so he promises to find his brother and reunite with her later. The locals try to persuade the rioters to stop the violence, but fail. Abdul and other Athena residents are kettled and detained when an incident breaks out, as they are bringing a group of people past a line of riot police. Karim watches the events online and uses the news feed to determine the riot police's location. He orders his people to throw large containers and begin pelleting the police with stones. The forces retaliate with smoke grenades, and Karim injures his hand as he disposes of one. He goes back into the housing complex and listens to a frantic voice message from his mom. He tends to his wound and bursts into tears when he finds a picture of Ider. His friends warn him about the police entering the area, so he sprints into action, telling everyone to charge the police with him. He recklessly attacks, and gets overwhelmed, but his friends save him. The sheer number of rioters forces the police to retreat. At the police station, Abdul is set free, and the chief of police apologizes to him for arresting a military leader. Karim rallies the masses to assess the situation. He tells everyone that they did not achieve a victory, that the riot police will return with a vengeance. He reminds them that the primary objective is to discover who is responsible for Ider's murder, not to play in the chaos and post on social media. Karim has a plan, to capture an officer, and use him as a hostage and leverage. When the riot police march, they mount ladders and climb over the barricades, ready to renew the attack. The protesters use larger fireworks to deter their advancement. However, the officers charge and begin to beat up the rioters with their bats and pepper spray. Jerome participates, in awe at the violence and the depravity. The protesters fight back, and unleash a heavy barrage of fireworks, forcing the police to take a defensive formation. Karim uses the distraction to sneak behind the police and launch a Molotov cocktail. The flames singe the officers and force them to break formation. The suffocating smoke blinds them, turning their battlefield into a blinding mess. Jerome flees, and is barely able to catch his breath in a neighboring building. He hides in one of the houses, but the rioters are alerted to a lone officer in the area. He removes his gear and puts on civilian clothes, in the hopes of eluding them. Jerome runs toward an ambulance, but can't pass the locked gate. The rioters overwhelm him, despite threatening them with his handgun. Elsewhere, Mokhtar freaks out on the phone, since his partner can't rescue him from Athena. Mokhtar threatens to cause havoc on the families if his partner doesn't get him out. He orders his men to bury the goods for the time being. In a video of Jerome which is circulating on social media, Karim and his people threaten to harm the young man if their demands are not met. After watching the video, Abdul decides to go back home and apprehend his brother. In return, the police chief promises to mount a full investigation and uncover what happened to Ider. Abdul knows the area, so he sneaks into Athena from a back alley. The rioters find him and assume he's defecting and joining them, but Abdul has a determined look on his face. He continues to venture deeper, until he reaches Karim's inner circle, trying to open the heavy weapons locker. Abdul disarms a rioter and intimidates his brother. He tells them that the military and the police are waiting for a reason to demolish the place, and the people with it. Eliminating Jerome would be that reason. Abdul wants to take Jerome and Karim with him and end the conflict. However, Karim refuses his hugs, and spits on his brother for betraying his country and joining the French military. Abel responds by slapping Karim and telling him he'll do this, with or without his consent. Abdul takes Jerome, despite the men blasting them with fireworks. They flee through the corridors and go up to the barricades. The incompetent police then fire at them, injuring Jerome in the process. Abel is forced to hide Jerome while Karim and his men engage the police. Karim knows how his brother thinks, and manages to find him. Abdul and Jerome run and hide inside the Shisha Cafe, and it's Mokhtar's live ammunition and madness that disperses the rioters. Mokhtar hugs Abdul, who turns out to be his half-brother. Mokhtar freaks out when he discovers that Jerome is the famed cop from the news. Abdul persuades him to save the cop and become a hero. Mokhtar contacts his partner again, but this time, he politely asks for help and offers Jerome an exit ticket. His partner agrees and is on his way. Karim asks his people to distract Mokhtar's gang, while he threatens Abdul with a Molotov. Abdul asks Karim to leave, because the cops, who turn out to be partners with Mokhtar, are on their way. Karim does not relent. He lights up the Molotov as his people break into the cafe. Despite Abdel's pleas, Karim does not listen to reason, and suddenly the police are around him. He refuses to freeze and gets shot. He collapses in the flames of his cocktail. A distraught Abdul opens the shutter and extinguishes the flames, but it's too late. He bursts into tears after realizing he's lost 2 brothers in a few days. Utterly broken, Abdul picks up his brother's charred corpse and places it inside. When Mokhtar tells him to leave his brother and hide the evidence of what transpired, Abdul erupts in mindless rage. He takes down his half-brother and pummels him with punches and fists. The gang and the rioters are stupefied by the loss of their leaders. Abdul tells them to discard their weapons and go to their families. Those who wish to remain can lock the shutters and search for the rest of the weapons with him. He orders Jerome to be taken upstairs and then ignores the military's orders. He bears a vicious and intimidating new demeanor as he cocks his gun. He frees the terrorist, Sebastian, and orders him to use his skills to unlock the weapons locker. He proceeds to threaten the military with Jerome's life. He gives them an hour to provide him with the names of the officers that took his little brother's life. Jerome gives his condolences to Abdul, but the latter is unfazed. When Sebastian blows up the locker and distributes assault rifles to the youth, chaos escalates. Abdul forcefully evacuates the innocent civilians in the building and then tries to find Sebastian. Abdul knows he has made a grave mistake as Sebastian floods the building with gas by nicking the pipes. He creates a makeshift bomb and orders the kids to douse areas with gasoline. The police commander phones again, maintaining that the officers in the video were not real cops, and tells Abdul that the police tactical team is on its way. Abdul refuses to listen and tells him to bring him the names of the murderous cops, or else. When the lead officer rejects Abdul's offer, he goes down to Jerome. In the meantime, Sebastian and the rioters go in the opposite direction. Abdul points his gun at Jerome while on a video call with the commander. Jerome cries and begs for his life as Abdul fires twice. He misses on purpose and then collapses, realizing that he has exacerbated the situation and cost many people's lives with his rash behavior. Some rioters warn Jerome and Abdul about Sebastian's mad plans. Abdul allows Jerome to leave. He exits the place and is rallied and apprehended with the rest of the protesters by the tactical team. Sebastian amasses more gas canisters as Abdul mourns his brothers, unable to move his limbs. He cries under the ash until Sebastian blows up the entire place. A heartbroken Abdul perishes. The video of Ider's beating quickly goes viral on social media, sparking outrage and protests across the country. People of all races and backgrounds take to the streets, demanding justice for Ider, and an end to police brutality and racial discrimination. As the investigation into the incident continues, it was discovered that the men who had beaten Ider were not actually police officers, but rather far-right provocateurs with ties to white supremacist groups. They had been specifically tasked with inciting racial conflict by staging a fake police brutality incident that could be used to fan the flames of division and hatred. The revelation that the beating had been staged for political purposes only serves to further inflame tensions in the community. People are outraged, not only by the fact that an innocent man has been brutalized, but also by the realization that the incident was deliberately orchestrated to further a hateful agenda.